Eggstra Work is a new game mode introduced to Salmon Run, but there's a problem. It's not Salmon Run. And I know what you're thinking. It looks like Salmon Run, and it feels like Salmon Run, and it even smells like Salmon Run. But I'll show you why it's not. So let's get to it. We need to establish what Eggstra Work is first. The team of 4 needs to work their way through 5 waves which have predetermined scenarios. The hazard level is the only thing that can vary depending on how you do on the previous waves. The first wave is exactly the same for every team. Have you ever seen Groundhog Day? Never mind. If the team does well enough, the hazard level increases. Collecting 2 times the egg quota increases the hazard level by up to 60%, and 1.5 times the quota increases the hazard level by up to 30%. But as long as the hazard level is at the same amount on a certain wave, it will play out exactly the same every time. Bosses spawn in the same places, and the same enemies will spawn at the same times. Beyond that, your weapon is selected prior to starting, and you keep the same one throughout all 5 waves. So we can already see a lot of differences between this and a typical shift of Salmon Run. But why is this not Salmon Run if you're playing alongside 3 other players with the purpose of surviving, defeating enemies, and collecting golden eggs? It boils down to one aspect: the repeatability. So here's what I mean. In a normal Salmon Run match, you don't know what bosses will be spawning, nor where. There is the exception of special waves where you at least know what kind of enemies will be spawning. But typical Salmon Run relies on your abilities to react to new situations rather than already knowing where you should be or what you should be doing. If you're on one side of the map and 2 stingers spawn on the other side, they're going to be aiming right for you. You were already dealing with enemies, and now you have more to deal with. That unexpected nature of Salmon Run means that you have to always be ready for the worst case scenario so that you can survive and change your tactics. This is what defines Salmon Run: overcoming the unexpected obstacles thrown your way so you can complete the wave. Eggstra Work is entirely different. The aspect of adapting to a new situation if, for instance, a teammate makes a mistake and goes down still exists, but the main point of Eggstra Work is to memorize the waves so that you can deal with the enemies as efficiently as possible. Given that scenarios are scripted to play out exactly the same, it means that planning can and will make you do much better. In Salmon Run, there's no planning barring a few different types of waves, but Eggstra Work is actually more similar to speedrunning rather than Salmon Run. It's all about optimizing the strategy as much as possible for the purpose of collecting the highest number of golden eggs within the 5 waves. So if you look at how speedrunning works, it's about memorizing the game so that certain things can be done with exact timing. In this way, the game can be completed optimally. Take Splatoon 3's single-player mode, for example. The stages are predetermined scenarios where the player can plan the best strategy and try for the best possible time. It still takes lots of practice to do it, but the plan of how to accomplish it is the most important aspect. Improvising can be useful for trying a new strategy, but there will only be one best way of completing it. But Eggstra Work isn't single player, it's a multiplayer mode, so how could it be like speedrunning? Well, let's see. It's a predetermined scenario where the players can make a strategy to complete it optimally. If 4 friends are playing this mode for a few hours, they would keep finding little optimizations to the strategy to be able to collect more and more eggs. It's still vital to have the mechanical skill to enact the plan, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a different mode. Yes, in typical Salmon Run matches, the players are trying to get the most golden eggs, but that's more for the purpose of getting more Grisco points. There isn't any room for devising a plan since there's no way of knowing where, when, and what enemies will spawn. I don't want to leave any stones left unturned though. There are some random aspects to Eggstra Work. Take grillers for example. You don't know who they'll be chasing, so that does add room for improvising. If the heavy damage dealing weapon is being focused, that means the other players will have to be ready to intercept it. But this is no different from single-player games having random elements that leave things up to chance. Even if the griller does randomly pick a player, it's still going to spawn from the same exact spot at the same exact time, so it's not as if it's completely changing the round. As an aside, I have to say this was a good decision on the part of the developers. Designating one of the waves to be a griller wave makes sure that players can't completely plan every aspect of the shift. It leaves a way for players to make mistakes or be able to have an amazingly well-played wave to get even more eggs than usual. This makes sure that players will still have to be on their toes if they want to get the best score. Eggstra Work isn't Salmon Run, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I also don't think this mode is necessarily something every Salmon Run player will enjoy as much. Some players will find this mode much more appealing than others. The similarities between this and Salmon Run are purely superficial, because the depth of the mode is derived from memorizing the scenarios and thinking of a plan to get the best scores. It's very telling that normal Salmon Run rotations occur in the meantime, because even the developers know that this mode isn't actually Salmon Run. Did I make any sense? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, good luck and good fishing!